to order. And I'd ask Pastor Jeff Chitwood with Anchor Christian Church to please come forward and lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Dear God, we come to you today and we give you thanks for another day of life, the way you take care of us and watch over us. And for that, we're greatly thankful. And Lord, I pray that you'll be with these men and women. And thank you for their time as they serve to lead this city. I pray you will grant them wisdom and guidance in their lives as they make decisions that impact the lives of others. Lord, we thank you for our nation, for our freedom. Be with those that are serving to guard and direct and preserve that freedom we have. I pray you will watch over them and guard them. And Lord, this week as we reflect on that which you did for us many years ago, let this Easter be one that sets you first. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. And I'd also like to just pass on a prayer for Commissioner Larry Kiker, who's not doing well, and his wife Paula and their family. Please be with them on this difficult time. And right now I'd like to offer a moment of silence for former Councilman Patton Mccord. If we could just have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, everybody. Amen. Councilwoman Carumba, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Carumba. Here. Councilman DeWitt.
Here.
Councilwoman Carr.
Here.
Mayor Simmons.
Here.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Here.
Councilman Gibson.
Here.
Councilman Forbes.
Here. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hope you're doing well. We're going to have public comment right now on agenda items. Members of the public that would like to speak, please come forward at this time. Good evening.
Honorable Mayor, Council. Mayor, it's good to see you. I hope you're doing good.
Thank you. On the mend.
Good. My name is John Pano. I'm with CGT Kayaks, and tonight I just want to share some things with you. I've had the opportunity over the past year to work with local folks and talk with local folks about skateboard parks and skateboarding, and I'm talking specifically about item number 6G tonight, and support of passing a design company to work on a skate park for us. Skateboard parks today are not just for kids. They're family gatherings and family places, and I've had the opportunity to talk and work with a lot of folks here in town that are very excited about this. So I just want to say thank you. Thanks the park department especially for finding this company. This company seems to be very knowledgeable in this kind of design and also accessible. They have a satellite office close by, which makes it nice. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Barbara Ogle, and I'd like to speak regarding agenda item 1904118, and it's regarding the recommendation to the council to authorize the city manager, city attorney, and staff to negotiate terms subject to council approval for the potential purchase of the Bonita Springs Golf and Country Club property. As it was stated in the Beaver report, there was an opportunity for a regional stormwater management and filter marsh system, and they recommended that property for that purpose. It could also be used for passive recreation, and including parks like even the Lakes Park in Fort Myers, Freedom Park in Collier County. This is an opportunity for the city to provide not only open space for the residents as the city continues to grow, but also to help with stormwater retention. Because as you know, our area and several areas in Bonita Springs was inundated with floodwater after the events in September 2017. So I would like to strongly ask the council to consider this recommendation moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Oh, folks, and I was up at the county commission meeting earlier, and there was a big crowd there too. And appreciate the enthusiasm, but let's just please not clap or jeer or boo or hiss or anything. We'll just give everybody a chance to speak and leave the emotions aside, although I know it's emotional. I understand. So thank you very much. Hello, Ben.
Ben Hershenson from the Golf and Country Club area. This morning, by the way, you don't have to cheer, just meet me outside and I take bribes. No, I really don't. I want to speak on green sheet item 19-04-118. On my off gym days, such as today, I decided to take a walk up the street, which is pretty close to where I live. That is the old golf course. And I was walking along, I couldn't help but notice the small preserves here and there, something I perhaps never noticed before. A lot of birds. And I was thinking to myself, Ben, what do you think this is going to be 10 years from now? So I began to think, what do I know now and what do I really believe concerning the old golf course? Well, I know one thing, it'll never be a functioning golf course again. The second thing I know, it's prime land for a residential development. And the third thing I know is that area floods quite a bit during rainy season. Wouldn't it be a great idea if somehow, by some miracle, this could be purchased and become a stormwater management or mitigation area? And four, I know the seller of that property has a right to receive just compensation for that land. Now the obvious question, what does the city council do to ensure that all of the possible uses for that land, from doing nothing to seeing a development of several hundred homes, how do we know it's going to be considered? If we proceed along that line of thinking, we could have 3 or 4 possible scenarios. Of course, I'm eliminating a functioning golf course. The reality now in the minds of most is the likelihood of a planned development. But there is a third scenario, perhaps remote, but it does exist. And that is what the green sheet is all about. It puts forth an idea that needs to be pursued regardless of everything else that's going on. Kind of like nothing ventured, nothing gained. Essentially, it is a proffering of an idea for a dialogue to begin that might possibly lead to the purchase of that 115 acres that could be utilized, as already mentioned, perhaps as a stormwater mitigation region. To eliminate that possibility, as remote as it might be at this early stage, would be irresponsible. Again, important to stress, the seller of that property would have to receive proper compensation. This idea, if supported by the council, only opens the door for discussion as to the possibility of another use of that land beside a planned development. There's really no commitment at this early stage. So how does the council decide? In my opinion, any decision rendered by a governing body has to take into account what decision will best serve the needs of the majority of those residing in and around that golf course. To say no to a discussion at this very early stage would not be proper, in my mind, fulfilling fiduciary responsibility that any of us who serve on the board have to do every time we meet. A yes only opens the door a crack to allow city staff to begin a dialogue with the principals involved in the Golf and Country Club area and that golf course specifically, looking at the present state of it. I hope the council will agree and vote yes for the exploratory conversations to at least begin. Who knows? There might be, we might go somewhere with this, and if they did, there'll be some solid opportunities for the financing of that effort. I say let's open the door to the old golf course to every possibility that could happen on that particular land. Please vote yes on that request to be in a dialogue with the principals involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. How can I follow you? Hello, Kathy.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. For the record, Kathy McGrath. After listening to Barbara Ogle and Ben, there's no need for me to repeat because I agree with everything they say. So I will just keep it simple. I'm hoping that staff and all of you will carefully consider all this and do the very best thing for this very valuable property. That's the one thing. The other is the skate park. And of course, I know John, and he's checked into the credentials of who's building it. It is, move forward with it. It's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Hi, Jeff Chitwood, live on Wood Ibis, and don't have a prepared statement other than to say I would encourage you to vote in favor of looking at that property. My house is on what used to be the 5th green, and we really appreciate that greenery and scenery back there, and if there's any way that that can be maintained as a wetlands or a water area, that would be greatly appreciated. It is a beautiful area, and I'd hate to see houses right behind it, because one of the plans, I had 3 houses right behind my yard, which is only 50 foot wide, so that would not be favorable as compared to the other options.
Wonderful, thank you. Other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Council, what's your pleasure?
G and J, please.
G and J. Anything else?
Move to approve the rest.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the remainder other than G and J, and there's been a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Okay, Amy.
I really just have some questions.
Can you talk into your mic?
I'm sorry. I just have a couple questions. First of all, what is a pump track? That's my first question. I'm talking about the skate park, and I just wanted to focus on the estimates for what that's going to cost, because that's a good bit more than what we had expected that to be. So I just want to start a discussion about that. I think it says.
Nicole Perino, Parks and
Okay.
Recreation Director for the record. A pump track is a feature of a skate park.
Okay.
It's a new addition that a lot of skate parks are adding that actually helps it be more user-friendly for all ages. So it does help little kids learn, and it helps with adults as well as bikes. You can actually do tricks and things like that with bikes. So it is a new feature that would be a good addition to the concrete skate park.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we think that it's going to cost $400,000 plus whatever this design fee is. What is this, 40, 50? So it'll be $450,000 for this, is what we're projecting.
Approximately, but what we are looking into are different grant opportunities. So it would be matching grants that we're looking for. We actually had Ellie on Matt's team look at different grants, and they were $250,000 and higher. So
So we think that we're going to put it somewhat in the budget, even if it's not exactly. That's what our expectations are.
correct.
In the order of a couple $100,000. Is that what we're thinking?
And you currently have in this fiscal year $175,000.
175.
So
Right.
you have the abilities to at least start the plans, and
Uh-huh.
then you could see from there how you like to move forward or scale back
Scale
from the
it.
estimates that you receive. But during the last budget cycle, Councilmember Gibson talked about the pump track too, as well as that's the new trend that seems to be going towards with these facilities.
Okay, move to accept.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve in a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Okay, Amy, item J.
And then I just had a question, where they, on A2, where it talks about the project's understanding, and it said, it is understood that this project will not include any community, private stakeholder, or city council involvement. Landscape design will be reviewed and approved at a staff level. Is that typical?
That has been typical, but we did discuss the potential to bring forward a presentation in front of City Council with a design. This applicant actually provided a concept to us that was already in a visualization software, which was above and beyond what we had asked. So I think there will be an ability to show in a way that City Council has not seen on prior landscaping projects what this would look like. And they do have a track record of, actually they showed us a comparative analysis of their visual simulation to their in-ground plantings. They've done some work down in Naples along some of the side streets off of US 41, and in the comparative analysis, what you see visually and what gets planted is stunning as to how similar it is.
Okay, so that's how you figured out that this is sort of going along the vision that we, conceptual vision that we already have. So
Yes,
you've
what
already
we
you've got
did,
a preliminary thing. Okay.
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 I think it's very Miami looking. He doesn't want you to see it.
No, I don't know. I can't remember the last time we approved something like that, but the wording just struck me. I'm sorry, I had to call it out. But I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilman Carumba?
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilman McCarr?
Aye.
Council, any further comments on the consent agenda?
Nope.
If not, we're going to move on to proclamations and presentations. Item A, a proclamation declaring April 27th, 2019 as Arbor Day in the city of Bonita Springs. We have Council Liaison Fred Forbes, members of the Tree Advisory Board Susie Valentine, Ben Hershenson, Janet Martin, and Laura Gibson. If you could please come forward at this time.
Hey, Susie.
Welcome, everybody. This is a proclamation on behalf of the city of Bonita Springs, whereas Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is celebrated throughout the nation and the world as a special event to promote the planting of trees, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and produce habitat for wildlife, watershed protection, and whereas the city of Bonita Springs appreciates the values trees as they are renewable resource, beautifying neighborhoods, increase property value, attract business and customers, making our community more attractive, functional, and livable, and whereas the city of Bonita Springs strongly encourages individuals and organizations to value trees and plant appropriate species in appropriate places and keep them properly maintained so that we have large, beautiful shade trees in all parts of our community. And whereas the Bonita Springs community wishes to recognize the efforts of volunteers today participating in the planting of trees here in our community park, now therefore I, Peter Simmons, Mayor of the City of Bonita Springs, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2019 as Arbor Day in the city of Bonita Springs and encourage all residents of Bonita Springs to plant and care for trees to ensure this precious natural resource for all generations to enjoy. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, April 17th, 2019. Keep up the great work, team. Do you want to say a few words?
Does Ben want to say a few words?
Hit the timer button.
In my earlier days, before I became Dean of the College of Pharmacy, I was a professor and I taught freshman botany. Now, if you think that that's not a challenge, try getting 200 young people into a boring lecture on a Friday afternoon. And the only way I could do that, back then people wore three-piece suits. I had to wear a different suit every meeting so the young ladies would cheer and come to class and bring their boyfriends with them. So anyway, let me tell you about trees. It all began, no, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, a lot of people here think that you're in Florida, you don't need trees, everybody should have palms. Well, one oak tree, one live oak, can remove an awful lot of carbon dioxide from the air. So plant a tree, make the climate and the environment a lot better. And I want to invite you all on Saturday, April 27th, 10 a.m. at YMCA. We have some youngsters. There'll be games for the kids. There'll be kind of a competition for photographs, or actually pictures that these young people make, art drawings and so forth. So it's really going to be a good time at the YMCA. And I don't know, Susie, do you want to say anything? You're usually pretty clear. Well, thank you very much.
Today I do.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, thank you very much, Mayor. We do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. you, everybody. Alex Nunez, if you could please come forward. On behalf of the City of Bonita Springs, this is a certificate of appreciation proudly presented to Alex Nunez. The City of Bonita Springs honors artist Alex Nunez for his generous donation of time and talent in capturing the beauty, history, and spirit of Bonita Springs. Thank you very much. Mayor Peter Simmons, April 17th, 2019, and I can just say, honestly, thank you. That's a big help for us at a very important time. We were getting a lot of media questions, a lot of questions from people, and as we transition and fix that building up and make it part of our downtown, thank you. It's very invaluable to what you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thanks to the City of Bonita Springs to let me be part of the history of this city.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And Mayor, so you're aware, Mr. Nunez is also graciously, continuously donates his time to update and refurbish the existing murals we have in the downtown on his own expense.
Very, very generous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if I could have New Horizons come forward, please. Deborah Haley and Jamal Akins and Wes McCann. How are you? We're glad you're here. On behalf of the City of Bonita Springs, this is a certificate of recognition proudly presented to New Horizons for your hard work and dedication reaching out to the youth of our community with your many programs including after-school tutoring, mentoring, reading skills, development, leadership, and team building. Thank you for providing the tools to empower our children to succeed. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, April 17th, 2019. Thank you very much for all your great work.
You wrote everything right there?
Is it all there?
Okay. That was you.
Very good. Couldn't have said it better yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Please tell Deborah we said hello.
Will do.
Okay. Now we are on to Kevin Kerwood and Lori Riddell on the importance of breastfeeding. In fact, I saw a story on the news yesterday in New York City on breastfeeding. A woman was having infant, was hungry, pulled over, and they gave her a ticket. So, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for reaching out to us. This is a proclamation on the City of Bonita Springs on the importance of breastfeeding. Whereas the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and American Academy of Family Physicians, the Academy of Breastfeeding Medicine, and the World Health Organization recommend that babies be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of an infant's life and continue to be breastfed until 12 months of age or longer as mutually desired. And whereas in January 2011, the United States Surgeon General announced a call to action to support breastfeeding that identifies barriers to optimal breastfeeding in healthcare practices, employment, communities, research, public health infrastructure, and social networks, and recommended methods in which families, communities, employers, and healthcare professionals could help eliminate those barriers to improve breastfeeding rates and increase support for breastfeeding. And whereas the breastfeeding of a baby is an important and basic act of nurture, which must be encouraged in the interest of maternal and child health and family values, whereas employers, employees, and social benefit by supporting a mother's decision to breastfeed and by helping to reduce the obstacles to initiating and continuing breastfeeding. Now therefore I, Peter Simmons, Mayor in the City of Bonita Springs, hereby recognizes the unique health, economic, and societal benefits that breastfeeding provides to babies, mothers, families, and the community, and affirms that barriers to initiation and continuation of breastfeeding should be removed. The City of Bonita Springs encourages employers to strongly support and encourage breastfeeding by striving to provide accommodations of appropriate space and time to allow employees to express their milk. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, April 17th, 2019. Thank you very much.
Lori and I were with the Florida Department of Health in Lee County. We're also steering committee members for the Breastfeeding Coalition of Lee County. And thank you. Thank you very much for recognizing the story you just mentioned about the news. It's timely that we're doing this. It's the natural way. All the foremost institutions that you read about, breastfeeding is the nutrition. And what you and the council have done today is moving forward from formula feeding into the health of for the kids. Human behavior is often, we do what our parents do, and from the parents before us. So this is changing from formula feeding into the natural. So I'd just like to thank you, each and every one of you, for recognizing this and making for a healthier today and a healthier tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you for all your great work. Thank you so much. Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, and finally we have Aaron Steep with Children and Families. Welcome. How are you? I'm just about out of breath. So we're gonna condense a little bit, if you don't mind, as I did on the last one. This is a proclamation on the City of Bonita Springs Child Abuse Prevention Month, Pinwheels for Prevention, April 2019. Whereas Florida's future depends on nurturing the healthy development of our children, and whereas the abuse and neglect of children can cause severe, costly, and lifelong problems, and whereas every child has the right to a safe, healthy, and happy childhood where they are educationally and developmentally on track, and whereas the blue and silver pinwheel stands as a symbol of the health and happiness all children deserve, and whereas during the month of April, Prevent Child Abuse Florida, in collaboration with the Governor's Office of Adoption and Child Protection, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Ounce of Prevention Fund of Florida will implement Pinwheels for Prevention, a statewide campaign promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families need within their communities. Now, therefore, I, Peter Simmons, Mayor of the City of Bonita Springs, do hereby proclaim April 2019 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and urge all Floridians to engage in activities whose purpose is to strengthen families and communities to provide the optimal environment for healthy child development. Signed, Mayor Peter Simmons, April 17th, 2019. Congratulations for you, and keep up your good work.
Mayor, on behalf of the Executive Office of the Governor and the Florida Department of Children and Families, we'd like to thank you and the city for acknowledgement of Child Abuse Prevention Month and your ongoing support of children and families.
Absolutely. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on now to item F, which is a presentation of the audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2018 by Jeff Brown, CPA, partner with the audit firm of Ashley Brown and Company. And this is Green Sheet 1904-104. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ann Wright, Finance Director. I'm pleased to introduce to you Jeff Brown, partner with our CPA firm, Ashley Brown and his company. And Jeff will be reviewing some of the highlights of our audited financial statements.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief, but feel free to interrupt me as I go along if you got questions or whatever. It's obviously a lengthy document, so we're not going to go through the whole thing here. I'll reference some page numbers down at the bottom. They're probably different than what the page numbers are on your PDF, so I apologize for that. But the first thing is on page 2 in the financial section. It's probably down about 18 or 20 or so of the PDF, but that's the independent auditor's report. And similar to prior years, it's what we call the unmodified, unqualified opinion, the clean opinion, if you will. It basically states that your staff did as they're supposed to and reporting the financial operations of the city for the fiscal year, and it's a direct reflection on your staff. And they presented everything to us in an organized, auditable fashion, and the numbers are materially correct as they are presented. If you flip to page 18, this is the statement of net position. This is a snapshot as of September 30th, 2018 of all the city's assets and liabilities as of that point in time. So there's some big numbers on here, obviously, but if you look all the way down at the bottom, the second to last number there, the unrestricted net position, that number, $10,212,760, is positive. That's a good thing, meaning that the assets are in excess of the liabilities. And then if you flip over to the next page, that's the citywide income statement, for lack of a better word, titled the Statement of Activities. And this reports all the expenses and all the revenues on what we call the full accrual basis. So this has all the pension expense, all those kinds of words, which is different than expenditures. So the third number from the bottom, the change in net position, that increase, if you will, 1.9 million, basically means that the city as a whole, the expenses were less than the total revenues by that 1.9 number. But if you flip over to the very next page, this is the balance sheet. This is what most people typically look at because it doesn't have all the roads and parks and all the infrastructure on it. So this just has basically current assets and current liabilities. And down at the bottom, the unassigned fund balance for the general fund, $571,570. So an indication that the city is financially sound, even after taking out the assignments for disaster and operating reserves and other purposes and what's been committed for capital projects, that sort of thing.
So
Yes,
that's,
sir.
I'm just taking you up on your
Yeah, please do.
invitation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's the number we had in the budget at a glance, projected at 0, right? So it's 571, and also you've got a full disaster reserve of 5.1. You didn't have that fully up, so it's probably net more like 800,000, huh? All right, versus the projection.
Of 0. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
All right,
Yep.
thank you. That's good
Definitely.
news.
Yep, absolutely. And if you flip back 2 more pages, this kind of tells the story of how you got there. So this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. And this is what we call the modified accrual basis of accounting. It's not exactly cash basis, but it's kind of somewhere between the first set of statements and this set of statements. The biggest difference being capital outlay and debt service, for example. So on the first set of statements, those are balance sheet items when you're buying assets that are going to last more than a year. There's reconciliations between the two here too, but on this page, this kind of presents in the column format there the different funds, what we call the major funds of the city. The general fund obviously is the one there at the beginning, but if you look all the way to the right, the total governmental funds, total revenues for the year 35.6 million, and total expenditures 29.3. So that excess of revenues exceeding expenditures is just about 6.3 million. So again, a good sign of the city's financial soundness. Next is the notes to the financial statements. This sort of, there's not much different in here. It describes the city's significant accounting policies and that sort of thing. There is a note in there about, that's similar to what there was last year regarding Hurricane Irma, that there's obviously been expenditures, but there's no revenues recognized yet, no receivables, because we haven't figured out exactly what those numbers are yet. That's coming from FEMA. So next year, hopefully, we'll be able to fully report all of that. Last thing here, back on page 50, is the general fund budget to actual. Total revenues for the general fund were $797,690, greater than what was budgeted. Again, a positive variance. And same thing on the expenditure side, even after sort of backing out, if you will, with the appropriated reserves, the expenditures were about $800,000 less than what you had budgeted. So again, a good positive variance there. The last two things, there's two reports in here. One's our report on internal control and compliance, and then there's another one that's a management letter. All positive statements, references in there, Florida statutes, rules of the Auditor General, but again, all the city complied with everything financially that you were required to. So a good, clean audit, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council?
My only question is only because I know it's come up before on the OPEB and the new Gadsby. Where's that at? Or is not?
It's not in here.
Gotcha.
You're one of the few that it's small enough to where it's not.
Okay.
It's not in here. Good question, though.
Council, any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I guess our staff did a great job.
Yeah, as usual, right? All right, we're going to move on to item 8A, Mayor and Council member items. Consistent with the recommendation of the Bonita Springs Outreach Advisory Committee, approve the resolutions to amend the Bonita Springs Outreach Advisory Committee for the city of Bonita Springs to have 10 appointees and appoint Mr. Jean Beauvoir and Derek Botana to the Outreach Committee Advisory. This is Green Sheet 1904-109.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, it's been motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion?
I just have a question. I noticed that there are no terms. Is this typical? Do we usually not have terms on our committees?
Actually, there is terms. It says it at the discretion of the council.
I thought they said that that this was for no terms.
Well, on
They've,
page 2,
yeah, I was gonna say, they've typically been one-year terms. Did it say something different?
What it did.
Oh.
on page 2, they crossed that out.
Well, they crossed it out on page 2. Will continuously serve until such time as council
Amy, the
determines
mic.
committee is no longer
The mic.
necessary. On page 2, they crossed it out, and they said the outreach committee will continuously serve until such time city council determines that committee is no longer necessary. So, that means that we'd have to dissolve the committee? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It should be 1 year, right?
Yeah, they should be one-year terms.
Why do
So
you
let's make them one-year
Of course,
terms.
that's what they'd recommend, right?
But is that what they recommend? Well, it's not written properly if that's what they did.
So the original, I'm looking at what I think was looking at is the original one was created a one-year committee. And then we decided the council decided to continue the committee as 1 year. So what we should probably do is look to be, some of our, a lot of our committees have staggered terms.
Yeah.
So if we could ask the committee to give us some idea of how they like to stagger the terms, like for the art and public places, for example, some of them have 3, 2, and 5 until we get everybody on, for the first year, until we get everybody on a cycle. When we
Right.
created those committees,
That makes
Tree
sense to
Advisory
me.
Board, so if we could ask them to give us some recommendations on how they like to stagger them, then we could create a separate resolution that appoints them in the staggered terms. Once they do one cycle of staggered, then they move into a regular 3-year term.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Okay, with that discussion, there's been a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
So once the outreach committee meets, we'll bring the next resolution forward to provide
Wonderful.
terms.
Thank you, Arlene. We're now on to the addendum, update to city council and A request to authorize city manager and staff to negotiate terms, subject to council approval for the potential purchase by the city of the former Bonita Springs Golf and Country Club. Deputy Mayor Peter O'Flynn, green sheet 19-04-118. Peter.
Okay, so I'm going to bring back a bad memory, Irma, and the week before that in the storm in August. And you'll recall, obviously, the flooding in the city. This particular area of the city was among those with, I guess the experts call extended hydro periods, which means a lot of water all over the place flooding. And that golf course area was documented with 2 or 3 feet of water throughout for an extended period of time. We've seen the pictures of that. So council knows this, but for the benefit of those who haven't been at every meeting, we attend every meeting. Council engaged Jim Beaver right after Irma to prepare the City of Bonita Springs flood reduction and watershed restoration plan. That has a lot of initiatives for a lot of parts of town, including Logan Boulevard, including Pine Lake. One of the suggestions in the Beaver report was considering the flooding and considering the opportunity as follows. There's an opportunity for a regional stormwater management and filter marsh system at the currently dormant Bonita Springs Golf and Country Club. This site could be used for stormwater retention and treatment and non-intensive public park use, similar in design to that of Freedom Park in Collier County, Billy Creek Preserve, that's up in North Fort Myers, and Powell Creek in North Fort Myers. Also, Lee County had Waldrop do a study, a report I should say, and they also recognized the potential importance of this property. And one of the things they said that the size of this property will provide design and operational flexibility that is not possible for other projects. So this potential is actually in our FEMA flood mitigation plan, our meaning the cities, was one of our top priorities. In fact, I think it was among equals, if I'm right, Arlene, 1, 2, and 3, along with Pine Lake and Logan Boulevard. And it dropped to tier 2 only because of requirements up in Fort Myers in terms of how that money got split up, that potential money. So that's the background on this, and there's a lot more about flooding that I won't take a lot of time on. So point 2 is, obviously this is private property, and we respect that, and there are private property rights. There may be contractual rights with respect to this property. And I really like to send out a big thank you to Derek and to David Thuriak, who have given advice to Arlene and to the extent I've been involved with respect to how to properly do everything necessary going forward with respect to those private property rights as we deal. Now, the question is, who deals if council approves? And my suggestion on that is it should be our city manager and city attorney to go forward with respect to this possibility. And someone here, I think it was Ben, made some comments about, call it expectation management or whatever, but I think he put it pretty well. In terms of this is a possibility, it's not a certainty. We have financial constraints in the city, but to the extent it is a possibility, my suggestion is that we have the city manager and our city attorney pursue that. So that would be my motion.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there further discussion, council?
I just wanted to mention that I'm very pleased that you brought this forward. This is something that was, on my radar when Jim Beaver presented in the study. And I think, it is our intention to try to secure areas for retention, not only here, but all over the city. But this is such a great opportunity if we can somehow deliver on it. And I know we have a long way to go, but I wish, our negotiators, should we pass it, lots of success and because it's something that I'm really encouraging, and I think it would be a great boon to the city and mostly a boon to addressing the flood management that we know is so direly needed here. So thank you for bringing it forward, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you. Further discussion, council? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes. Aye. Councilwoman Carumba.
Aye.
Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Okay, very good. We're going to move on to item 9, which is the second reading of the following ordinances, and ordinance and public comment is allowed.
Okay. An ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, amending the provisions for the recovery of professional fees and costs for the review of development applications and procedures thereof, providing conflicts, providing for severability clause, and providing for an effective date. As you all recall, this is an update to the cost recovery ordinance for our professional fees. We have made the changes that were requested at the last meeting, which include a cap of only up to $2,500 on those zoning applications. We are planning on coming back in 6 months to give you an update on where we are with those fees. I do have one minor correction since the last meeting, which was that of the 20 or so projects we had, we'd only shown like 3 or 4 that we had not given refunds on. It seems that there are actually some that are still in process, so that final number may change, but they will be subject to the cap, and we will bring ultimately those reports back to you in 6 months to let you know if the new fee is working and capturing everything. And internally, Arlene and I have discussed one of the big cost overruns has always been, and we've had complaints about, in those situations where we haven't been able to resolve concerns by our outside professionals, and say Mr. Theriak has come down from Tallahassee and those additional costs, we feel that in those situations where Theriak and Spain are engaged and they're actually coming down to represent the city in potentially an adverse situation, that those costs are always borne by the city. So the review costs will be borne by the applicant, but anything beyond that would be borne by the city. So that should help to control costs as well.
Derek, on page 2, it's section 2A, but it continues over on the second page. The last section there says additionally development orders or permits for an individual single-family residence, and then it stops. But I think the intent was it doesn't apply to the single-family residence, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's not clear. If that's not clear and that's a Scrivener's error, I'll make that correction.
Okay.
The issue is that we have a fee ordinance that's separate, and I'll just update you now. At this time, my recommendation is going to be to take our entire fee structure that we have for all of our zoning issues, which is codified in our code, and remove that from the code entirely, bring it back as a resolution so that you can start to update fees when you're going through your annual budget process. There doesn't seem to be any reason to codify it in the code and spend all that additional cost in advertising and 2 meetings to make a change that could be for one small permit fee. It should be something that you can update on a more regular basis. So I had to make those changes with respect to fees and where it applied and where it didn't to adjust for what we have in the code, which will conflict with this. But I'll make the correction, make sure that that's clear.
That is a trend we'll be looking for other opportunities with fees. For example, parks and recreation fees, as you seem appropriate, we should have them as a resolution as opposed to an ordinance.
Council? Any other comments? No. Okay, public comment? Anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Please come forward.
Good evening again, everyone, council and mayor. For the record, Kathy McGrath. And first of all, Mayor Peter, I'm very glad to see you back and
Thank
on
you.
the mend. Don't overdo. And you've already mentioned about losing Patrick Mccord. I just want to let everyone know that his services will be April 27th at St. Agnes Catholic Church, 7775 Vanderbilt Beach Road, and that the family has requested, instead of flowers, donations be made to Hope Hospice. And again, I just learned of our Commissioner, Larry Kiger, being ill, and I know our thoughts and prayers go out to him too. And in that vein, not that it's the same thing, but I always try to tell everyone to donate blood. And I was at the blood bank the other day, and with season over, it's very slow. I happen to be fortunate enough to be able to be a platelet donor. I can do it every 2 weeks. I've done it for 10 years. I have a very high platelet count, and I'm very proud to be able to do it. So, and of course, as you know, I said at the last meeting, I do not participate in social media, so this is my Facebook, and it's always concerning something about Bonita. And I want to mention again about celebrating Arbor Day out at the Y on the 27th. And Forestry Service, besides the stuff that was mentioned, a lot of stuff for the kids and a fun thing. Forestry Service always gives away various trees. And our good friend Steve Trimble he's raising flats of milkweed plants, which I will be there to give away. And you know, we need the milkweed plants for the monarch butterflies, so come on out and have a good time. And I guess the other thing I wanted to mention was celebrate Bonita. Beautiful, beautiful day, large, exuberant crowd that enjoyed the entertainment and the food and the vendors and everything, and it was really a nice day. And I'm very, very proud that with all the cutbacks and everything, I have been able to sponsor the T-shirts. I mean, I've done it for years. It's a tradition I don't want to lose, and I'll do it as long as I can. And in that vein, you know, people love to get freebies. So we rolled up a bunch of them, and after they had introduced the Special Events Committee and the Fire and Rescue team, we got up there and tossed out T-shirts, which the people just loved. But I have to tell you this little incident that happened. As I walked off the stage, this mother came up to me with her little boy who was crying. And she said, you know, she said, that nice man in the blue shirt, and I happen to know it was Greg, and I think Greg will probably remember who this child was. She said, he threw it to my son, and he reached down to grab it between his legs, and a woman came over and snatched it right out of his hand. I said, young man, come with me. Pick out any shirt you want. And all I want to say is I don't believe that this particular woman is probably interested in city council or watching this, but maybe someone saw her or someone knows her. And all I want to say is, ma'am, I believe in karma. You know, what goes around comes around. And next time, pick on somebody your own size. Thank you for letting me vent my frustration.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments on attorney's fees and professional fees.
And I'll just add real quick,
Yeah.
apparently the issue is the draft, that the strike-through and underline draft, which I provided for the agenda, was to show the difference from the one version to the X. The clean copy has that section about the single family as a separate breakout, so.
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion to approve in a second. And just on this topic, is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Forbes?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carumba? Aye. Councilman DeWitt?
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr?
Aye.
Mayor Simmons?
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn?
Aye.
Councilman Gibson?
Aye.
Okay, now we're back to public comment again.
Kathy?
Kathy, got some more? Public comment on anything. Yes, sir.
Boyd Esmond, thank you all for passing Mr. O'Flynn's resolution. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Griffin. I'm the president of Bonita Fairways Community Association. We're an association of 475 homes interwoven with Bonita Fairways Country Club. Bonita Fairways Country Club is a small executive daily fee course open to the public. As such, we are the only open public golf course in Bonita Springs. When we heard of the city's plans to devise a set of rules whereby golf courses could change their use, we became very concerned that a change in use of Bonita Fairways community would negatively impact us. We've worked with the community development staff and the public work groups, and we want to thank them for all of their efforts to draft a set of rules that we will consider all stakeholders. In the early stages of learning the potential impact of our community, a group of owners started a petition which I have been asked to present to the council. So with your permission, I'd just like to leave this for you. We unfortunately only brought one copy, but hopefully you'll be able to browse that around and put it into your files. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hi, good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor and Councilman, Council. My name's Sylvia McDonald. I'm also here representing Bonita Fairways. We're on West Terry Drive, and We're here to discuss the rezoning of the golf course change of use. Dawn has just presented our petition that we've distributed around our neighborhood to let you know how many people are concerned about what's happening with our, not our golf course, but Bonita Fairways public golf course. So I just want to reiterate that as a community, we've participated in the planning department workshops at the high school in February. We've sent in many letters of concern with ideas and suggestions to the planning department. We've met and presented our concerns to 4 city councilors. We want our voice heard. Bonita Fairways is a unique situation with the golf course being privately owned and open to the public. We would like to consider owning it, but we have some obstacles to overcome. We as a community would like to help. We would, as a community, would like to keep the existing golf course green space. We do not want any more residential. We believe it would be detrimental to our community in many ways. We're currently at approximately 450 doors, which Dawn has just confirmed 475, of which in this there are 2 development projects underway at the moment. When those are complete, we will be at 880 doors, and we have calculated our maximum capacity to be at 1,100. We're presenting to you this petition so that you can further hear the voice of our community, Bonita Fairways. I'd like to thank the council members, Mike, Greg, Peter, and Amy, for taking the time to meet with us. And we appreciate anything you can do to help us to keep the Bonita Fairways Golf Course green space. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other members of the public? Yes, sir.
Which has been deemed by
Just come on up to the microphone, sir.
too political, so I will keep it simple.
Very
Because
good.
this evening, you had a lot of discussion, and thank you, council, for listening to me. You had a lot of discussion
And your
about
name,
water
sir?
and flood remediation. Ed Shuttleworth. I'm the vice president of the Carousel Cove Homeowners Association. And just let me read this. We recognized at the end of Hurricane Irma, when parts of our community were flooded, its importance to the community and the city of Bonita. With a total landmass of 184 acres, it receives 500 million gallons of water for each inch of water that falls on our community. That's at the accepted rate of 27,000 gallons per acre. Any loss of landmass to development would have produced significant flood damage to the first floor condos and other homes. And I will remind you that Irma, by most accounts, would have dumped 7.5 billion gallons onto our golf course, and we're calling it our golf course. Our request is simple: restrict the development of the golf course to its intended use as a golf course. We are asking council to exercise their stewardship to our community and the city of Bonita Springs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other members of the public who would like to speak? Hello, Bonnie.
For the record, I'm Bonnie Whittemore. I just want to tell you folks what a hell of a job you're doing. I go out and speak in the community at least 2 or 3 nights a week. For example, the St. Leo's Women's Guild up at the terraces, and wherever I go, they are so interested on how Bonita got started and where we're going. And they're just all happy to be in Bonita. So that's one of the side benefits of being a transplant here and loving it and trying to keep in tabs with what's going on. But everyone is excited. There are no naysayers, no negative. They all want to know what's next. So I have the opportunity to tell them about that too. And just a big thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Bonnie.
you.
Other members of the public that would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the city attorney's report.
I have nothing.
Okay. City managers report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We just wanted to keep you apprised of that the Charter Review Committee has been meeting regularly since January. And as the Charter Review Committee has done in the past, they have had a joint meeting with Council further on in their process. At our last meeting, we discussed with summer vacations and opportunities coming forward, maybe to start, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but maybe put you aware that we'll be doing some outreach to look at having a joint meeting sometime in late July, August, which was similar to 2008 where they did one on July 16th. What we would be looking for is there would be recommendations from the outreach, from our Charter Review Committee regarding what potential amendments might happen and direction, and they would be maybe asking for some clarification on some items, maybe some additional questions. And from there, that would set the tone of what will happen in the required 2 public hearings that happen once the recommendations are provided by the board. So I think at this time, we just want to advise you that that will be coming forward, and we'll be looking for some dates and to correspond with everyone's schedules.
And I would just say if we could avoid the end of July, but that's just me.
Did we cancel our third, July 3rd?
Okay. So we'll look at some dates in August and.
Early August would be good for me. I guess you're going to talk to us. All right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And the other item I just wanted to remind everyone is our April 29th budget meeting. One of the things we wanted to make you aware of is that we're going to be presenting to you, again, the CIP, the operating budget, but we're going to be we're going to be presenting to you in twofold the operating budget. One is we're going to be labeling it similar to how Lee County does their budgeting process, which is called the continuation budget, and that will be the budget that if we keep all services as the same, with understanding there are some minimal increases in doing a business, and then we'll be presenting upon those some items that staff is recommending that we should be pursuing in the next fiscal year, and that we'll be looking for your feedback as to whether those optional items are in keeping with the council's goals, and then looking for your input on any other items you'd like us to be addressing at that time.
Okay, thank you. Matt, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Mayor and council reports. Amy?
I don't know, it's because I spent 4 hours with the Board of County Commissioners today.
That's all?
But I just feel very nostalgic and happy to be here sitting on the Bonita Springs Council. So permit me to just compliment everybody, because I'm just so happy to be here. And I'm going to give a lot of compliments out, but maybe, I don't know why, it's probably because I didn't get any sleep and I didn't get any food, but honestly, I so appreciate and I'm so proud to be part of this group. And I'll just mention a few. First of all, Deputy Mayor O'Flynn, I started doing those form-based code courses. I recommend them to everybody. It takes quite a bit of time. I've done 2 courses. I think there's probably 10 more to go, but if you have any recommendations of which ones to concentrate, so we don't have to spend 10 hours doing that, but anyone that is interested in it's a great
I can
process.
tell you how to cheat on the answers so you can move on.
No. Are you taking the test? I got 80 on the first one because I wasn't paying attention, but whatever. And I do want to thank the effort that you made in regard to trying to move the Spring Creek mitigation process along, because that is really important. And I want to compliment our mayor for being back here, because I was queen for the day, because I ran the zoning meeting. And I'm telling you, it's not as easy as it looks from this side. So I appreciate all the effort you make when you, I'm serious about this, when you lead the meeting. And in 15 minutes, I made 2 mistakes for Robert's Rules of Order. So you do a great job.
But she loved it.
Yes, no, it was fun. It was really fun. It was such power. And I didn't use the gavel once. And I am so grateful to our city and our council and all the people that work on this, because we are committed to quality stormwater management, sustainability, protection of all the waterways, and everything we do is geared to that. So we can feel really proud of that, and let's continue that good work. And foremost, we are committed to the protection of the DRGR. And that is so clear to me after what happened this morning and the disappointment in not having that vote go the way we wanted to. So thank you, team members. I feel really good about being here, and I hope you feel the same way. And that's my statement for the day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amy. Greg?
I just, point of personal privilege, I just want to ask everybody, one of our firefighters got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So please keep him in your prayers. Someone local here in town, and we'll talk off record if anybody would like to help out with the family and stuff like that, what they can do. It's at mealtrain.com, but I'll tell you the name. I didn't discuss this with him, so I don't want to put the name out there, but yeah, he just started treatment on Monday. So
I'm
please
sorry, you're going to give us?
I'll let you know who it was and all that off
Or-
record. But
okay,
it's,
yeah.
what he's looking for is like meal train. It's called mealtrain.com. And what it does is after treatment, if he's a single father, he may not have enough energy to cook his own meal. So they come and they'll deliver meals to that. So I will let you guys know offline
Okay.
who it is and all that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Well, my prayers go out to the Mccord family. When I received the email, it said my Pat. I'm like, no, it's our Pat. But it was first and foremost her Pat. But you know, he was so important to our community. He was so wonderful. And I have to just say, my prayers go out to, I mean, I think everyone who believes in freedom of religion, but especially the parishioners who saw the loss of such a beautiful cathedral. And let's hope it's not their 9/11 and that it was an accident.
Right. Thank you, Laura. Pete?
Yeah, no, Pat was larger than life, just a wonderful presence, and you sure know what he felt, and he wasn't shy about telling you, which was delightful. I know Greg participated in that, I'm sure. Yeah. And we all loved him for that, and it's so sad that he went, but what great memories we'll have of years of knowing and working with and just talking to Patrick, you know. So today, I guess, was like up in Fort Myers, the mother of all public participation meetings. Something like, if you did that, it's probably 100 people spoke for something like that for 3 minutes each. And I must say, I was proud of that whole group and people, you know, most of whom I didn't know, from all over the county, from Cape Coral, from Sanibel, from the east part of the county, from, so to speak, every walk of life. One husband and wife who, they're like many generations in Lee County, and they work in Immokalee, and just extremely well-spoken, thoughtful. So, you know, we always are concerned about apathy, and having been there, it was like 6 hours, you know, it was a great experience in democracy at work. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but everyone was respectful. It was nice to see that, and so just wanted to say that. And also, thanks to Arlene for getting off on a fast start on the budget stuff. I think it's going to make our life a lot easier. So thank you for that. And Peter, great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I
Mike?
forgot, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you.
I too will also miss Pat Mccord and his frankness. I just want to say thanks for my neighbors from Bonita Fairways for coming out and presenting the petition tonight. Also want to thank BSU for getting the flag back up on the that tower out there by the interstate, and also congratulate Ace Hardware on their successful Egg Fest last week in the park. They had a good turnout, and a lot of people had fun. Very good food. So
Great. Fred?
Yeah, I was very impressed as well by all the fine comments that I heard up at the county. And it was, for the most part, done in a respectful way. And I also want to acknowledge the loss of Pat Mccord. He was bigger in life, and if you didn't believe it, you should have gone to one of his St. Patty Days parties. 'Cause, I mean, he would go the whole, I mean, he had Irish dancers and Irish singers and all that. So it's a great loss. I didn't always agree with him, but I enjoyed the discussion. He never lacked for letting you know where he was or what he thought about. And I think that's it.
No, that's great. And I do want to remember, if you could keep Commissioner Larry Kiker in your prayers. I don't think it looks very good, but miracles happen, and it's unfortunate. And, you know, we're hearing about Greg's friend on the fire department. I just had my own little trials and tribulations for the past couple of weeks. Diverticulitis, if anybody knows what that is or doesn't know what it is, but nothing to, yeah, don't want to know what it is, but listen to your doctors. Don't be a stubborn New Englander like me and think you know better than Mother Nature or the doctors. But anyway, thank you everybody for the outpouring of support. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I heard from so many of you. the baskets, the flowers, everything. But I am on the mend, and have no fear. I'll be feisty here soon. I promise. I'll be back. But seriously, with Pat Mccord, and you go back to, and it doesn't matter if you agreed with him or disagreed with him. He would engage you, and you would learn something. I mean, he had something to offer. And I think back to, of course, they're Michigan folks as well. And for anybody that knows where Mackinac Island is in Michigan, his family and his sister owned quite a bit of property up there, and some stores and some shops, and my family stopped in there to see his sister one year on Mackinac Island. And as Fred said, the St. Patrick's Day party, you couldn't have seen a happier Irishman than Pat Mccord down at his house on those St. Patrick's Day parties. So, Pat, we love you. Peggy, we love you, and we will, I think all of us, or most of us, will be down at the funeral, so we won't be at Arbor Day, but thank you for your service to Bonita Springs, and God bless you, Pat. And we'll see you again someday. Amen. So now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
So move second.
Second.
Okay. Approval of the minutes, motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Caramba. Aye. Councilman DeWitt.
Aye.
Councilwoman Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Simmons.
Aye.
Councilman O'Flynn.
Aye.
Councilman Gibson.
Aye.
Councilman Forbes.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Any members of the public that would like to speak, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Whatever you do with that.
We are adjourned.